Let's talk about the self and how easy it is to lose yourself and how hard it is to actually find yourself. When you are born and raised into an extreme religious community such as the AUB or the Apostolic United Brethren, which is what I was raised in, is a polygamist cult here in Utah, then it is very easy to lose yourself. In fact, you're taught your entire life that you're supposed to lose yourself in Christ. You lose yourself in the gospel. What happens when you try to find yourself again? Where do you go to look for that? If you've decided that you don't want to be a part of that religion anymore or be a part of that cult, where do you go to find yourself? How do you center and find out who you actually really are? Those of us that are women in this cult were taught not to question or not to ask questions. We followed the living prophet, we followed our husband, we followed the current teachings, and we were taught never to question anything. So we actually never had to formulate our own opinion about anything because our husband would tell us what it was. So what happens when you decide to leave? What happens when you decide to break away? How do you find that center again? How do you find that self? Well, for me, when I decided to leave, it was literally making one decision and then living with the results of that decision and then making another decision and living with the result of that decision, and then making another one. And it's just a daily progress that I had to do every single day so that I could break away from the teachings of not thinking for myself, not doing anything for myself, because you never wanted to go against what your priesthood holder or the prophet told you. And so if your husband gave you an opinion, that's what you needed to do. Now, what happens if your husband doesn't have his own opinions? He has another wife's opinions, or he has the prophet's opinions and not his own. You can really get lost in that mix. And that one's even harder to come back from because now you've been directed by a man who doesn't even know how to direct himself because he's so directed by someone else. So that it's a very way that you can actually get very spiraled down into never making your own choices, never making your own decisions. And this will happen when people are raised in these religious, extreme religious communities, especially if you are raised in, let's say, the LDS church, or you're taught all the time that you are supposed to lose yourself in whatever deity that they want you to believe in at the time. You're supposed to lose yourself into that. How do you pull yourself back out? For me, it was literally making one decision and then making the next decision and then making the next decision. It's almost like learning how to walk again, where you have to just put one step in front of the other and then you just do the next right thing. And the next right thing that's for you. What is it that you need to do? What is it that you need to accomplish in your life? And you make that next right decision for you. And slowly you start to build a foundation of finding who you are and finding what you are and finding what it is you believe in, stand for, and not what someone else told you to do or told you to believe. I'm actually going to make another video right after this one on my thoughts on the very public family, the Browns, and my thoughts on why Cody Brown listens to just one of his wives and doesn't have his own opinion. So I'm going to make a video about that one next. But in my experience, that is what I had to do. I had to make one decision, follow through with it. Make the next decision, follow through with it. It's literally almost like, I left the community when I was 25. It's almost like I was a toddler again, having to teach myself how to walk. So that's, in my opinion, I'm not a psychologist. I'm not, a mental health professional in any way. In just all the therapies that I have done, that's what's worked for me, is making the next decision for myself and following through on it. And that's how I found myself again.